Most of us love our weekends and our vacations, and they can be so regenerating. The only problem is if we wait to regenerate only during these times, when the weekend comes and goes and it's Monday or Tuesday, we might already feel tired. And if we've done this long enough, we might come to a point where we feel like the vacation and the weekend just slips away so quickly. And then the week starts or we're back to work. Before we know it, we can't wait for that vacation or the weekend again. And many times it's hard to even think of self-care in between them because we're such in a busy season. And there's this tendency to wait and postpone for the weekend and vacation. Now, there might be different dynamics going on in this kind of cycle. But what I want to bring today is that sometimes the perfectionism, this perfectionistic side of us or aspect ourselves, can be actually involved in this habitual cycle. And I want to bring today conversations about how to negotiate with our perfectionism in renewal. And I'm Dr. Ioana Popa from Team for the Soul, and I bring this unique blend of science, psychology, spiritual care, and ancient Christian faith. And I invite you to join our weekly renewal nugget, which I consider, and I want to create this oasis in the midst of action to help you regenerate and renew while on the go so you can keep on giving for the betterment of humanity. As mentioned, most of us were looking forward to regenerating the weekend or vacation. But many times what happens is we have this vision of how renewal should happen for this amount of time, doing this particular exercises or doing this walk for an hour or whatever. And we don't want to spend 5 minutes during the week with good reasons. We want to enjoy our time. And then if we're really busy, that only time happens in the weekend or vacation. But many times that time comes in and everything goes down the drain. Maybe your partner might be upset, or maybe you got some emergency call from your work, or your kids need lots of stuff and might be getting even sick or might feel uncooperative. Or maybe you plan to go to the beach and the weather is all clouded and rainy. And who knows, maybe there's some emergency at work, or your laundry machine breaks down and all of a sudden you have to take care of that and take care of the water in the basement. And who knows, there's so many possibilities here. And yes, many weekends and vacations can go really well, but sometimes they don't. And at least they don't go how we expect. Many of us, we have parts that we might be able to call them perfectionistic. They really mean well. They want us to plan for our future. They want us to do our best. In internal family systems, those parts are called managers because they really try their best to help us manage our lives. Now, as one of my mentors said, the best 5-year plan lasts for about 2 weeks. And I would say sometimes not even 2 hours. So especially in renewal. So it is important that we negotiate, we befriend this perfectionistic side that has this expectation and vision exactly how the self-care has to happen. Because if we don't, when the weekend comes, when vacation comes, and it doesn't go how we want, then we'll pile up more frustration. And when it's time to go to work, we're going to be even more tired. This frustration and tiredness can bring more stress in our inner system, and escalating stress can accelerate the process of burnout. This has happened to me many times, and I've done many rounds of trying to recalibrate and replan, change my plans in such a way that I can actually regenerate. And it only left me depleted and this sense of being on a treadmill, caring for myself and caring for others. And I know I'm not alone because many of my clients experience exactly the same thing, and the people that I encounter in various situations. So in this situation, as a giver, since we don't have time in the first place, having the idea to create more time to regenerate later in the week it might not work, or creating time today might not work. I know there are many programs that say just meditate for an hour or exercise for an hour, take a lunch break. That works for some people. For some people, it does not. And or it might work for a little while and then something happens and the rhythm is out of balance. So our manager parts, to use the internal family system framework, will keep working harder and harder and harder using similar strategies, which are not helpful to begin with. Maybe there were many before, but not now, because doing more of what brought us into difficulties in the first place will not bring more solutions. Type in the chat if you resonate with this at all. Now, here is the alternative. And it's simple, but it's not easy, obviously, to implement. It takes time. But I would suggest that we continue with this idea of befriending sides of us, understanding their role, their job, and also finding ways to negotiate with them and negotiate with the fundamental beliefs that those parts of us have. So, for example, our perfectionistic part might want the perfect renewal, the perfect time to recalibrate. It has to happen in an hour. It has to happen this way. I have to walk this particular circuit, or I have to exercise for an hour, and I need to meditate, whatever that is. And when we don't have time or our schedule is shifting, this part will say, I'll better just postpone and do that regeneration later, which is I've shared many times, it doesn't work. So the alternative is this. On one level, let's send compassion to our perfectionistic side. First of all, most people have it. And second, this part probably brought you and me through many trials and tribulations, helped us through school, helped us in our profession, in our vocations, with all our responsibilities, juggling all that, and helped us also to improve. So let's send first some appreciation and some compassion to the side of us. And in the same time, we can invite this perfectionistic side to consider some alternatives, to shift some of the underlying subconscious beliefs that can actually allow us to regenerate less than perfect, which is better than no regeneration at all. So those are a few things, 3 things that we can share with our perfectionistic side to remind ourselves about underlying beliefs. One of them is this. This is the invitation. It is a sign of strength to know our shortcomings. This is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength to know our shortcomings so we know how to improve. So we're not perfect. We might not have the perfect renewal, but at least I can do a little bit to make my renewal sustainable. So acknowledging that we are not perfect actually frees us up to realizing that we're not perfect can actually give some inner freedom that we can be less than perfect and renew in less perfect ways. Number 2, we can remind our perfectionistic side about this idea of the growth mindset. Many times, perfectionistic sides of us might be triggered by fear of shame, fear of being criticized, fear of being less than. And as we rethink mistakes as a way to grow, this can help us to improve and maybe embrace even the mistakes. I'll give you an example. I used to love watching ice skaters, and I learned through my trainings as a physician that the cerebellum, this part of the brain in the back that helps us coordinate all the moves and visualize everything in the movement, cannot actually learn unless the ice skater makes mistakes. What do I mean by that? By falling and trying different things and having hundreds and hundreds of mistakes, the cerebellum learns, oh, I cannot do it to the right or to the left. And it does a sequence of calibration and recalibration, which helps towards improvement and towards growth. So the growth mindset helps us to look at mistakes differently. I'm not a failure, I'm not flawed. Fundamentally, we're okay as human beings. And if we can look at mistakes as a way to learn and grow, that can shift the perspective. And the third reminder for our perfectionistic side is that we can coach and remind ourselves that every long journey starts with a small step. Progress, not perfection. All right. Type in the chat if you've encountered those concepts before, if you apply them, how are they working in your life? And I cannot wait to connect with you. And in summary, I just want to bring this idea that as we shift our beliefs and our mindsets, and while in the same time we embrace the perfectionistic side of us, we can actually move on one hand, renew and regenerate and self-care, which is what I wish for you. And we can apply this lesson in many, many, many other areas. So, with that, I will leave you and I thank you for this shared space and time. And until next time, I say goodbye for now.